Hello from New York.
Greetings from London.
Hello, mate. So today, Joy, we are talking about payment terms again, agency payment terms. And the reason that we're doing that is because another brilliant piece of research and report from the ANA, the Association of National Advertisers, that you might know is the trade body here in the US representing the interests of the advertisers and a very big voice for advertisers around the world, just published this, their new report, Payment Terms, Current Practices for Marketing Services. Now, we obviously talk about media a lot. This covers media, but also other things like production, agency fees, research, and stuff like that. But it's things that advertisers buy from what we might call the supply chain, from external suppliers, and the terms of business that they put in between that. Now, this is 7 years since the ANA last did this piece of research. Not a huge amount has really changed, but there is a movement towards extending payment terms. They are getting longer, a little bit, and it varies by area. So agency fees seem to be extending, production seems to be extending. Media is about the same that it was 7 years ago. But let's kind of dig into that, because I think it's an interesting thing and it's a very sensitive topic, as we know, and we've talked about before. So today, it's all about the payment terms. Right then, so what is going on with payment terms?
A hot, highly controversial topic, and it has been for ages. So in its basic form, payment terms is the period of time it takes between a supplier to provide an invoice and the client to pay it. The reason that it's controversial is because brands generally want to keep cash within their organization, so they try and extend the time it takes for them to pay it, and agencies want to be paid as quickly as possible. So in contract negotiations, the discussion around payment terms can be really, really painful. Now, there are two elements within the payment term discussion when it comes to media. There's payment terms around the fees, so how quickly it's going to take for an agency to be paid for the services they provide. But then there is also payment terms around the media. So if you imagine that for some advertisers, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on media, in some cases, billions of dollars on media, the agencies have to pay the media owners generally on 30 or 45-day payment terms. If their clients, however, are pushing back on 60, 80, 90, in some cases, 120-day payment terms, the concern for the agencies is that they are bankrolling, they are providing banking provision to their clients, and that's hugely, hugely unfair. But often the payment terms can become a distinguishing factor within the selection of that agency. We've heard of some agency tendering processes that actually have e-sourcing processes, so auctions that put the agencies through the process to see how far they can extend these really, really pushy payment terms. So hugely controversial. You look at the report that you just mentioned by the ANA, Tom, 10% of those respondents put their agencies on 90-day payment terms. Really, really kind of tough. And we've heard of some advertisers that insist on 120-day end of month payment terms. That's almost 6 months worth of delay before you get your money back. So that's the reason it's so controversial.
Yeah. And we should add as well that, we're familiar, I think we're all familiar with some of the companies that push at like 120, 150 days. And we've had the pleasure of turning down two projects recently, which were asking for 120 days, not just for us, but potentially also for the agencies. And these are, in pitch terms. So we're pushing back where we can on that, but it doesn't mean that they go away. They're still obviously pushing in different ways.
Absolutely. So Tom, what are the implications?
Well, the implications on the agencies, as you mentioned, are pretty negative, but it has an impact on the advertisers. So if you just think only certain agencies are going to accept payment terms. So as your payment terms increase, whether that be for fees or for media, if we're talking about media, actually the opportunity, the choice amongst agencies narrows for you. So in some of those extreme examples we know, so these very famous advertisers that demand 120, 150, 180 days, of the hundreds and hundreds of agencies that there are in the world, only probably 3 are going to accept those payment terms.
Yeah.
Okay, and they are ones who have engineered their business to be able to do that in a way. And to be honest, the cost of delivering those payment terms is priced in. So that advertiser may think that they keeping cash flow, which they are technically, on 120 days, but they'll be overpaying in other places, in other ways, to fund the agency having to subsidize those kind of banking facilities. So it doesn't really net out, but it's a financial engineering exercise. It looks better on the advertiser's books, and it's very much an initiative driven by the CFO, finance, and sometimes procurement to extend those payment terms.
Yeah.
And there's great validity in doing that. If you look at company accounts and you're looking at working capital in the business, and you're maybe an acquisitive business and you need that money to raise finance, that's really important to have that additional cash flow. That can take precedence over actually good quality marketing. The implication is that it limits the number and the type of agencies that you might work with. It stifles entrepreneurship, actually, because it means that smaller companies don't get to work with bigger companies, which is a shame. So it means that, you know, big advertisers tend to then only work with big agencies who have that kind of financial engineering muscle, and that might limit some options and creativity and innovation for them. That's a big issue. The other thing it does is it just continues to enforce media as a commodity. Okay, so if you're an agency CEO and you're working for an advertiser that has you on 120 plus payment term, 120 days plus payment terms, I guarantee you are less likely to put your best top tier talent on that business. You are less likely to go out of your way to really help that advertiser. You are less likely to go to them with some breakthrough innovation or creative ideas. They're more likely to go to the advertisers who pay on 30, 45 days. That's what we get told by agency leaders. If you punish agencies with payment terms, you basically get it back, because you get, you know, you're very limited and narrowed in the value that you might be able to get from your suppliers. So we tend to advise against it. We understand that it's sometimes the reality, but it does have a negative effect in marketing services. We're sure of that. Hot topic. What should marketers be doing?
Well, as a marketeer, the first thing they should be doing is defending against aggressive payment terms, for all the reasons that you mentioned a second ago, Tom, because it actually has a greater negative impact on the ability for your agency to fulfill what they're really good at, right? That's the biggest danger of all. But as part of that, I think in defending, aggressive payment terms, a marketeer has to engage in the right kind of narrative with often the stakeholder group within their organizations that are pushing for it, and that's the finance team. So as a finance director, you just see cash, you see working capital, you see cash flow. You don't necessarily understand the implications of tightening the screw on that with your agency partners. As a marketeer, I think it's your responsibility to champion the brilliant work that your agency partners can do if they are engineered in the right kind of way. So informing and educating the teams internally to let them understand the implications of these kind of payment terms, I think, is the first thing. The second thing is, if you need a business case, then engage with your agency partners. I think because they're at the coal face of it, they will be as keen as anybody to try and get your organization to think differently about payment terms. So engage with your agency partners and collectively create a business case. And if that doesn't work, then do whatever you can to kind of minimize the pain, if you like, on the agencies. And by doing that, go to some degree to protect your own interests within that agency group. Those are the three things that I think they should be thinking about.
Good, very good advice. So if you want the report, we'll link to it down below. I'm not sure whether you have to be an ANA member. Sometimes this is just for members, sometimes it's wide distribution. I don't know. Go to the link down below and have a look. But that's your media snack for this week. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.
See you next time.